Hello and welcome to Deanna Christine's Corner. My name is Deanna Christine and this is my first episode of a new segment that I am starting called Deanna Defines. This is my little corner of the internet and all the little happenings that happen in my life. I love learning and I've created this little Deanna Defines segment. Here I will choose a word or subject that I either find interesting or that relates to my life, and I will attempt to both define that subject and also my interpretation of the definition and maybe how it relates to the world and my life. So sit tight. I hope you learned something. If you have any experiences or thoughts on the word or subject that I choose, then feel free to go ahead and leave some comments below. I'd love to see them. So the first word that I've chosen for today's episode is a word that definitely I relate to. It's something that I have been experiencing for the last about 2 years of my life. And that word is the word braces. The word braces is defined as a set of wires attached to a person's teeth to move them gradually in order to straighten them. It also means a device that is fitted to something, in particular a weak or injured part of the body, to give support, such as a neck brace or a leg brace. So I'm going to go ahead and take a little walk through history on how orthodontics and braces came to be what they are today. With that, I'm going to start with ancient history. According to multiple orthodontic websites, the first known recordings of any type of braces or orthodontic type work is by a Roman philosopher by the name of Aulus Cornelius Celsus. He was recorded text describing orthodontic treatment by using a finger and applying pressure to the teeth to move the teeth slowly. I can see that taking a very long time. It's also reported that in Rome, Egypt, and Greece, that archaeologists have dug up actual remains of teeth found bound with gold or metal wire. Ancient Egyptians have also been recovered with metal bands around their teeth made from guts of animals. This is according to the American of Orthodontics and Dental Facial Orthopedics. These animal guts were used to apply pressure to the teeth, just like our modern braces. Sounds delicious. So moving beyond ancient Greece, the first notable individual that I found that really contributed to orthodontics and what we know them to be today was a gentleman by the name of Pierre Faushod. Do apologize if I'm butchering that name. In 1728, Pierre Faushod was a French physician who published a book on teeth straightening methods called The Surgical Dentist. This essentially credits him with the invention of our modern orthodontics and actually dubbed him the father of modern dentistry. Pierre Faushod also identified sugar as a pretty big major hazard to dental health. He was also reported to be recommending gargling daily with urine. Now, I didn't really specify what type of urine, but again, sounds delightful. I'm really glad that that's not something that we're still practicing to this day. The next notable individual that I found some research on was a gentleman by the name of Christoph Francois de Barr. In 1819, Christoph Francois de Barr was said to have officially created the first modern braces. This was something called a crib wire. What it was a semicircle that was placed directly on teeth to straighten them. He was said to be inspired by Pierre Fauchod's book. With that knowledge, he did create this crib wire. And he also introduced the method of separating teeth by using threads or wood wedges to create space between the teeth. The next individual that I'm going to speak about is probably an individual that I could create a whole video on alone because there was just so much information on him and he really seemed to be someone that has a lot of influence on the way that we look at modern orthodontics today. And that is a gentleman by the name of Dr. Edward Hartley Engel. He is considered the father of modern orthodontics. In November 1899, he established the first educational program to train specialists in orthodontics. This was the Engel School of Orthodontia in St. Louis, Missouri. So he's the first one that realized that orthodontics was such a specialized subject that it really deserved its own specialty. He really believed in this and created this school, which is just incredible. He developed the prefabricated orthodontic appliance system, and as I said, he was the first to actually acknowledge orthodontics as an actual specialty. With this school, he is said to have taught 198 reported students, with 185 of these students receiving certification for completion of his course. Within these students, it's reported that 8 of them were women, 6 of them were Canadians, and 27 of his overall students were from 15 countries outside of North America. That's pretty incredible for back then. He was known to be very selective in choosing candidates as dental students. It's also reported that these students could be extremely successful in this line of business of orthodontia, having reported word that one of his successful students made as much as $40,000 back then. This is a time when we're talking that the median salary in 1904 was $300 to $400 per year. This is extraordinary. Approximately 3 months after the passing of Dr. Edward Hartley Engel, the Edward H. Engel Society of Orthodontics, otherwise known as EHASO, was started in Chicago on November 17th, 1930. To this day, there are currently several Engel branches all across North America, such as the East, Midwest, and North Atlantic branches. Essentially, this means that the legacy and teachings of Edward Engel live on to this day. The amazing thing is that not only does it live on in the EHASO, but it also lives on in what is now known as the American Association of Orthodontics and the Canadian Association of Orthodontics. This is pretty amazing because the AAO is essentially a continuation of Dr. Engel's original school, the Engel School of Orthodontia. And the CAO, the Canadian Association, the mentor of that program was actually an actual student of Dr. Engel's. So really, Dr. Edward Engel's brilliance and teachings are still very much felt to this day. The next notable figure that I'm going to speak about is Charles H. Tweed. Charles H. Tweed is also an American orthodontist, and he's known for many of his contributions to the orthodontic field. He was the founder of the Charles H. Tweed Foundation for Orthodontic Research, which still runs as that name to this day. He studied at the Engel School of Orthodontia and actually worked closely with Dr. Edward Hartley Engel himself. It is reported that apparently Dr. Charles Tweed almost gave up on the pursuit of orthodontics. It was said that he was very dissatisfied with the outcome and treatment of many orthodontic treatment. What he ended up doing is he ended up actually selecting some of what he deemed failed cases that he had completed, and he ended up actually doing something, which is that he extracted teeth by extracting the first premolars, and then he retreated these same patients again. He ended up concluding in his findings that this actually improved not only the overall appearance of these patients' orthodontic treatment, but also the stability of them as well. Apparently, he was so well known for following through with this treatment and for extracting teeth to make room to allow orthodontic work to be at its best, that he actually sometimes was criticized for this, and people would confront him and essentially say, why are you pulling these teeth when they seem to be essentially healthy teeth? Why are you doing this? And he became very well known for the saying, just put your plaster on the table. And this essentially was a way of saying, let the treatment speak for itself. Let's see if the treatment's successful. I pulled some molars. Hey, that deems it pretty successful. Apparently this saying caught on so much, and he would do this so much that he would bring his plasters to meetings, and then members of the foundation apparently still bring their plasters to meetings to this day. So apparently they all let the treatment speak for itself. The next notable figure that I really discovered on my research on the history of orthodontics was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Oskar Hager. No, not Hagrid, Hager. He was a Swiss chemist for DEANNA'S Amalgamated Dental Company. In 1949, he actually applied for a patent for dental adhesive that he had worked on. This dental adhesive relied on components to interact with the tooth surface in order to create a physical/chemical bond between the tooth and the restoration. Soon, others began to adopt this method of using adhesives in orthodontics. From 1960 to 1990, the use of this adhesive really pushed the ability to have orthodontics a lot more less invasive and a lot more easier for patients. It really boomed during this time period. By the 1960s, the first commercially available Pitt and Fisher sealants using this technology were found to be used in clinics. In 1970s, the adhesive that was created by Dr. Oskar Hager was actually approved upon for even better outcomes. By 1980s and the 1990s, the use of adhesives became very mainstream within orthodontics, and it was a method to attach brackets to teeth and provide effective orthodontic treatment. And it's something that we have in today's modern dentistry and modern orthodontics. With all of this incredible history, there are so many individuals that really contributed to what we know to be orthodontics today. There was so much that I could have really gone down the rabbit hole on just what made orthodontics what it is today. There's so many people that were not mentioned in this video that really have contributed to what orthodontics are, what we know them today. And so what kind of impact does how orthodontics treatment has evolved, what kind of impact does that have on today's world? Well, the development and evolution of orthodontics has greatly affected the world today. A large amount of teens are now fitted with braces to help straighten and align teeth and help resolve any dental issues they may have. Research that I found, some numbers that I had was based on 1998, so it could definitely change by today. But in 1998, an estimated 4.5 million Americans wore braces on their teeth, according to the American Association of Orthodontists. 80% of those Americans undergoing treatment during that time were between the ages of 6 and 18 years old. This means, with all of these individuals needing treatment, that the orthodontics business was essentially an estimated $6 billion annual business in orthodontics. That's approximately $4,000 per patient at that time. Nowadays, that would translate to about $5,000 to $7,000 is the average for orthodontics nowadays. Braces being so extremely costly does mean that it is typically higher to middle class families that can afford to provide orthodontic care to their children, especially if they have dental coverage that helps cover the cost of braces. Nowadays, there's typically 4 main types of braces that can be found, and that would be your metal or traditional braces. There are also your ceramic braces, linguinal braces, and Invisalign. Metal or traditional braces are typically the least expensive braces out of the types, but their con is is that they are the most noticeable. The next type of braces are ceramic braces. Their pros are that they are less noticeable than your traditional metal braces, and they actually move teeth faster than clear plastic aligners, otherwise known as Invisalign. However, their con is that they're typically more expensive than your traditional braces. And one of the biggest drawbacks of ceramics is that they actually can stain quite easily, especially if you're eating pretty heavy foods that are high in color, like curry and things like that. They can very easily stain ceramic braces. The next type of braces are known as lingual braces. These are pretty cool because they're essentially invisible from the outside, so no one can see that you have braces. However, because they're on the inside of your teeth when you're getting treatment, they're definitely more difficult to clean. They're more expensive. They're not really appropriate for severe cases. They definitely seem to be more uncomfortable at first. As your teeth move and everything, you have the actual braces on the inside hitting your poor little tongue. And regular adjustments typically take longer and are more difficult with having lingual braces. And the last type of braces that have really become more mainstream nowadays are what is called Invisalign. These are the clear plastic aligners. They're really cool because they're essentially almost invisible, and patients can eat and drink anything that they desire because they're able to just take off their little aligners, eat something, and then pop them back on. So they're really pretty flexible that way. However, some of their cons is that they're not appropriate for serious dental issues, such as myself. When I first had braces, my teeth were all kinds of messed up that I definitely did not qualify for Invisalign. They're only really available for teens and adults, not children. They're more expensive, and because they're especially taken out to eat and things like that, they can very easily be lost, and they're pretty costly to replace. And then treatment can typically take longer, and sometimes you feel like you're doing a lot of the work, and you really have to be responsible for making sure that you're putting it in. I mean, I get these in, I just wear them as they are. I might follow a couple things by putting on like little elastics and things like that, but it's very much the orthodontic that is doing anything for me. Whereas typically with aligners, you're the one that's responsible to be replacing them and making sure you're wearing them. So here's my top 5 brace faces. 1 would be Mikey from Goonies. How adorable is he with his little braces, little Sean Astin? He's your typical little nerdy leader of the Goonies, a classic movie. The next one would be Darla from Finding Nemo. She had that beautiful headpiece that definitely screamed braces. Next we had Sue Heck from The Middle. Absolutely loved The Middle. Used to watch it a lot with my husband, and we used to love how Mike always had the iconic shirts that were plaid, and we used to call those Mike shirts, and my husband always wanted a Mike shirt. Next we would have Betty, and I apologize as I butchered this last name, Suarez from Ugly Betty. Very iconic Ugly Betty. And then finally, my most iconic brace face that I always identified with, Sharon Spitz from the TV show Brace Face from Teletoon. Now, media throughout the years has always used braces as a very easy identifier to signify that that particular character is a geek or a nerd. For example, like Katy Perry's video, Last Friday Night. She plays the stereotypical nerd character with huge headgear and braces that can't possibly have a party because she's too geeky with her big braces. Or we also have Ben Stiller's character, Head Stolman, in There's Something About Mary. Again, a sad, pathetic, nerdy dork that just can't quite get that girl. he's got braces. And then poor nerdy little Lucy Geller, the amazing Drew Barrymore from Never Been Kissed. She just can't quite get the high school stud at her senior prom, and she's actually called Josie Grossi, because just who could ever kiss such a nerd with braces? I mean, she was Drew freaking gorgeous. My husband's first childhood crush, Barrymore. Who wouldn't drool all over her and excuse a little bit of brace nibbling? Throughout the 2000s, it was essentially if you wore braces, you were a nerd. You were a geek. In 2013, the reverse actually kind of happened. There was reported publications such as the Daily Mail that were reporting Southeast Asian teenagers were reportedly wearing fake train track-like braces glued to their teeth as a symbol of status, wealth, and style. However, it's really sad to report 2 Thai teenagers actually died as a result of this trend. Because of this, there was a huge crackdown on vendors selling fake braces, with a punishment of up to 6 months in prison and a $1,300 fine. Braces themselves and orthodontics have definitely come a long way since the ancient times. Thank goodness they don't need to be drilled into teeth anymore. I don't think I ever would have gotten mine. We've actually gotten to the point, not only do they not have to be drilled into teeth, but we can practically have almost invisible braces. That's how far we've come in the advancement of orthodontic treatment. If you can afford it, you can look like you're not even wearing braces. Unfortunately, nowadays, there still is a huge disparity between upper middle class and lower class families attempting to try to get orthodontic treatment. According to the American Dental Association, 59% of Americans do not visit the dentist more frequently because of cost. It can cost anywhere between $3,000 and $10,000 to try to have orthodontic treatment in America. A luxury that some families just can't afford. It's also not always covered by benefits, even if you do have benefits through work or any other type of benefits you might have, because it's seen as a luxury and a cosmetic, an elective service, rather than a necessary part of dental care and oral health care. I grew up in one of those households that was very low income. My family couldn't afford to get me braces. Orthodontic treatment was very much a dream and not a reality. It was a huge disappointment growing up. As a young girl, I remember one time being on the phone with a friend, and we're sitting there talking. We're just having usual girl talk. I might have been maybe about 12 at the time, and I remember talking to her, and during our phone conversation, she just asks me out of the blue, "Why don't you have braces?" I was pretty stunned to just get that out of the blue. It was such a deep insecurity of mine of my crooked teeth that to have someone just call me out right on the spot really, really made me pretty at ease. And I was just like, we can't afford it. And this girl just went, maybe you should be friends with some other people. I mean, kids will be kids. She was a child as well, but unfortunately, that it definitely made me feel pretty awful about my teeth and how I felt about them. I know my mom, throughout the years as I was growing up, she tried to go through different channels to try to get some type of care for me, to try to get some kind of help with my teeth and the way they looked, and to try to help out some of the pain I was experiencing as well of having overcrowded teeth and just not really great care because of that. So she tried to advocate to get braces on my behalf, but unfortunately she just wasn't successful. I have a pretty vivid memory of going to our local health services center and my mom essentially demanding to speak with someone. My mom could get quite loud and angry about some of the disadvantages that we faced as children. And she was essentially told that I was too old at that time to benefit from any of the services in the community because I was a teenager. So my mother was pretty furious, and it led to a huge blowout from her, and I got out of there as quick as I could. But it was just something, again, that it was just like, yay, I don't get braces. So I grew up without orthodontic care on my teeth, even though I desperately needed that care. I think it resulted in other ongoing issues that I had with my teeth and my oral health. At one point, I remember as about a young 20-year-old, early 20s, I was referred to an orthodontist from my dentist. I went to the orthodontist and I asked them how much was it for a consultation to see if I qualified or if I was suitable to get what type of treatment I could get. See what my options were. I made it to like the front counter, and I was essentially told from the individual that was working the front counter that it would be $200 to just sit in the chair to even get a look at what type of treatment I would need, and that wouldn't include any extractions I possibly needed or any other care that I would require. She said that it would easily be about $5,000 for my orthodontic treatment plus all of that other care I would need. At that time, that was completely out of my budget. There was no way I could ever even fathom that amount at that time in my early 20s. So I turned and I walked away, and I just really didn't pursue it much. I was referred again over again, though. Anytime I would sit in that chair with a new dentist and they would go, have you ever thought about getting braces? Yeah, of course I've thought about getting braces. I've also thought about eating. It was just something I constantly faced, and I couldn't afford them for many years. It's just something that it was something I just lived with, and it wasn't a huge priority to me because it was just the way my teeth were, and there was other things that always came up, and there was other places that money could easily go, like rent. Eventually, though, I did grow up over the years. I got married and I got myself a pretty decent, stable job with benefits and really pretty grateful position that I have. And then I also had other, like I said, benefits that I could use as well for ongoing dental work. And it would cover extractions if needed. I was referred again by another new dentist. Apparently I switched dentists a lot growing up. But this one, it was closer to our house, and they said, hey, like, I think you'd be a good candidate for orthodontic treatment. And I was like, yeah, I still didn't really pursue it though, because I didn't really want to set myself up for disappointment. I figured over the years, I was quoted $5,000 back then. Can only imagine how much it would be now. And I've never been one that wants to spend on myself, so I just kind of, okay, thanks. However, shortly after, my teenage stepdaughter came to my husband and me, and she asked about the possibility of getting braces for herself. We had benefits between both of our jobs, so it seemed all right. Let's pursue this if this is something, your child. She went in and she was actually referred for treatment. She said she could get some orthodontic care. And then we went to the orthodontic clinic. While we're sitting there filling out things for her, the individual asked me, have you ever thought about braces? And I was like, yeah, sure, it's pretty expensive. And she was like, yeah, but if your stepdaughter's a patient here, you'll get a free consultation for yourself, plus you'll get a discount for having her already be a patient, so you'll qualify for a discount for having family care through our clinic, and you'll be able to make payments if you'd like. I essentially went home. I laid that all out for my husband, and he said, do it. What? But come on, babe, like, Deanna, do it. I did it. Again, I recognize how privileged that is in so many ways, because I'm getting a bit emotional because I knew that was something that I had wanted and just never really imagined my whole life, and now I've got them. And so typically now would be the time when I would want to offer any tips or advice that I might have based on this word I'm defining braces. It's really hard to offer really good advice for anyone that's in a position that they just can't afford braces right now, especially if it's out of their control, such as they're a child or a teenager, anyone like that that might be watching this. So I really understand, and I really relate with how that feels, and that it just feels like it's something that you just can't ever possibly imagine. Please know that if you do feel this way, you're not alone in feeling that way. As frustrating and sometimes embarrassing and maybe even painful, because teeth not being in their proper places can actually cause physical pain in your mouth. As much as all of that is a factor, I get that so much, and that's where I can relate. I'm sure most of you, your parents would do absolutely anything they could to provide you that kind of care and give you that kind of relief, but maybe they just can't afford it right now, or maybe it's something that will have to be a lifelong dream instead of a right now dream, because unfortunately it's not as easily covered as it really should be. Some of us have great health care. I'm lucky to live up here in Canada, so yeah, I do have really good health care in a lot of ways. I've got a good job, I've got benefits. Mine still wasn't even covered from my benefits. I had to pay out of pocket for all of my care. I was just in a great position where I was able to get some of those discounts and really lower the cost, which really helped a lot. My advice to you then at this time is, if it's something that you really, really want someday, like I said, make it your lifelong, long-term goal. And save up where you can, as hard as that might be, especially nowadays. A lot of great orthodontists out there can offer some good payment plans, and some can even offer support in some places to try to make this a reality for you. I'll leave you with this little tidbit from my father. I'm sorry that you can't get braces right now. Maybe that's a good thing, because if you had straight teeth, maybe you would be too beautiful and the world just wouldn't be able to handle it. Thanks, Dad. It's really sweet and cheesy. Didn't really help when I was in actual physical pain, but I appreciated his sentiment, and I appreciated where it came from. I appreciated he tried to make me feel better. So what are some of my predictions on where I think the world of orthodontics is going to go? I'm not really sure where orthodontics could go. I'm not really sure where the world of dentistry is going. I'm not a dentist or an orthodontist, so I'm not in the research and any type of information that they may be privy to. I do know that medical care and technology as we know it is constantly advancing at a rate we've never seen before. I mean, it's been huge, the boom that we've had from, say, even the 80s and 90s till now. Maybe someday in the far off future, we'll be at a state where literally they can just push a button and boom, your teeth are straight. Wouldn't that be pretty cool? However, with the evolution of humans and the fact that we live longer nowadays than we did, such as like in 1904, back when, that gentleman or individual was making $40,000 as an orthodontist, and the median lifespan of the individual person was typically 49 years of age. Maybe someday we'll get to a point of having 3 rows of teeth, or make up for the time when our teeth get a little more fragile and yellow with age. Who knows? I'd love to hear maybe some of your predictions. Where do you think orthodontics is going, and where do you think the world of dentistry could go? Maybe you have some insider information. My final thoughts on where I'll leave this is, like I said earlier, the history of orthodontic care sent me down a rabbit hole that I could have studied for years. I mean, that's what dentists and orthodontists do. They go and study for years to learn about how to care for teeth. There's been so many incredible advancements made with medicine and dental care over the years, and I hope it continues to grow. I just want to say a little thank you to anyone alive or passed on, big or small, who contributed along the way to the study and development of dental care and orthodontic treatment. We wouldn't be where we are today without your contributions, so thank you. I'm currently wearing my braces with joy and hope. Hope that I will have a beautiful, healthy smile and strong, healthy teeth. So thanks so much for watching. That was Deanna Defines Braces. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and share and subscribe if interested. I hope you enjoyed your time in my corner of the world. I wish you all the best. Take care, and you will see me next time. Bye!